TeamsCompete is a scheduling service for travel youth sport leagues. This best practice video describes the process of blocking teams and how to best select your teams for maximally efficient blocking. What does it mean to block teams? In any given league, there are coaches who coach a team, say a U11 team. That very same coach could also coach a U13 team playing on the same date. The coach can't be in two places at once. TeamsCompete allows these teams to be linked together or blocked for scheduling purposes. The system generates a schedule trying to ensure that these two teams are playing on the same field or very nearby. How does the TeamsCompete system block? Blocking is performed by the software when the schedule is initially generated, which TeamsCompete calls the schedule run. Organizations must identify the teams they wish to block during registration and before the schedule is run. TeamsCompete confirms team blocking with every organization via email as part of our scheduling process. Blocking teams at home is the easy part of the process. Opponents can come from any club. Blocking teams to play away is a significant challenge in blocking, as opponents need to be from the same club or member organization, or at the very least be a very nearby club set within a drive time rule. TeamsCompete has a concept called block viability. Block viability is our way to describe how capable a set of teams is to be blocked against other teams in the league. In order to determine if a block is viable, TeamsCompete software performs two calculations. The first calculation is the number of potential games together, which is driven off of the number of opponents with a compatible set of teams. The second calculation is the actual number of games the block is playing together. In general, blocks with fewer teams are more viable than blocks with larger number of teams. The viability of all blocks decreases as the number of blocks in the league increases. The viability of blocks is determined by the number of teams in a divisional pool. In general, the larger the number of teams in the pool, the more viable all blocks are. So let's say that there's a league with three age groups: U14 with a single pool of 20 teams, a U12 group with a single pool of 30 teams, and a U10 age group with a single pool of 36 teams. It would appear that there are lots of teams to match to in this league, but let's take a closer look at the clubs in the league. Club A has a certain number of teams at each division, and so does Club B, Club C, and Club D. Let's say our club has a block that contains one team at each of the age levels. That way, Club A has a set of teams to block, actually two sets of teams to block. Club B and C each have one, but Club D has 0. However, if we narrow the block down to just include a U14 team and a U12 team, you can see of how the ability to block that group increases as it becomes smaller. As the number of competitive levels increase within a given age group, the number of compatible opponent blocks decrease. As you add more teams to a given block, the situation becomes more acute. It's not uncommon for large blocks of teams, say 4 or 5, to be so unique that they have no opponents in the rest of the league that they can be blocked to fully. So let's look at this situation a little bit closer using the table from the prior slide. Let's divide the divisions that were there into divisions that have A and B strength divisions. Let's further assume that the subdivisions cannot cross. In other words, a U14A team cannot play a U14B team during the season. So let's look at a couple of variations of the potential block. A block containing a U14A team from our club, a U12B team, and a U10A team has only 3 potential opponents, one less than the prior slide. However, a block containing a U14A team, a U12A team, and a U10A team only has 1 potential opponent, 3 less than the prior slide. We just talked about how an increase in the number of competitive levels can reduce the number of compatible opponents that can be blocked to our set of teams. When we factor in other clubs' blocks, the same rule applies. That is, that as the number of blocks increase in the league, the viability of all blocks decrease. Let's remember that a larger block of teams can become unique faster, which means that there is no opponent available to match to each one of their teams. Let's take the table that we've been working with and add a couple of additional twists. Let's assume that the division that we are working in is a boys division. In addition, let's assume that Club C has added a block that includes a U14A boys team and a U12A girls team. This block is not compatible to our blocks of teams, and therefore, while Club C has all of the teams that align to our block, they don't have a set of teams capable of matching our blocks in the division. This has the impact of reducing the number of compatible blocks by 1 from the previous example. So how does your organization make a decision about how to best organize your blocks for the season? Well, TeamsCompete is here to help. For some larger blocks with low viability, TeamsCompete may provide your organization with an emailed analysis of the block. Blocks that have only 2 teams can't be optimized any further and aren't reported. In the following email, the organization in question has a block comprised of 4 teams with only 1 viable opponent to play away. The analysis assumes that all home games can be played at home together, which may or may not be the case. There are 2 sections for this option to configure the block. One that shows options for 2 teams, and the other that shows options for 3 teams. So let's talk about best practices. 1, keep your blocks smaller. Smaller blocks are more viable. Try to arrange the blocks so teams are likely to pair up. Limiting blocks to, say, elite teams means that they're likely to line up to other blocks that have elite team blocks. Make sure your blocks have all the same drive time goal. A team with a 40-minute drive time goal can't be paired with one that has a 25-minute drive time goal. And finally, if you need to have a larger block, ensure that you have an assistant coach that's available to cover any unblocked games. If there are any questions regarding blocking or how to best block your set of teams, please reach out to your TeamsCompete scheduling team member. Thank you.